Breaking news came out today of Mike Tyson versus Holyfield Trilogy being in the works right now to be hosted on Triller as an exhibition, and possibly having Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos as the co-main event, according to DAZN's Chris Mannix. Which, if that comes to fruition, that will definitely please the fans more so than having Jake Paul top of a fight on Mike Tyson undercard. With that being stated, I told you all on my last video, which I'm gonna leave the link for that video in the comment section below. The moment Triller won the purse bid, my immediate reaction was, this fight between Teofimo Lopez and Kambosos is just not pay-per-view worthy. I will even be surprised if Triller breaks even. However, to put it on Mike Tyson versus Holyfield undercard, now that sounds like a great idea to say the least. Because one thing for sure, it will be highly disrespectful to put Teofimo Lopez as the co-main event to a Jake Paul versus the UFC fighter on Triller. That will be highly disappointing for Teofimo himself and the boxing world. Knowing that Teofimo Lopez, he dissed the YouTube boxers by claiming they making a mockery of the sport. But truth be told, if the best fight the best in the sport of boxing, for example, if Teofimo Lopez stood up to the plate against Devin and fought Devin, if Ryan fights Javante, if Errol Spence fights Crawford, if Canelo fights David Benavidez and Charlo, and if Tyson Fury fights Deontay Wilder, you have Oscar Valdez not wanting to fight Shakur, and the list just go on and on and on and on. If the best fight the best, then YouTube boxers would not even be a thing. That would not even exist, because if the best fight the best in boxing, YouTube boxing would not coexist. You best believe YouTube boxers will completely get overshadowed. However, when you have Teofimo Lopez claiming that he's the takeover and promising Mike Tyson to his face that he's going to fight Devin Haney next, then the next day he breaks his promise, then Teofimo Lopez is also part of the problem. Furthermore, it will be intriguing to see what Triller decides to do. Mike Tyson versus Holyfield Trilogy, that's a blockbuster event on its own. It will break pay-per-view records. If Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones sold 1.6 million on pay-per-view last year, then you best believe Holyfield versus Mike Trilogy will sell more than 2 million on pay-per-view. Just a quick fact for the people that don't know how much Mike Tyson moves the needle. One of Mike Tyson training hitting the pads videos on Instagram did over 2.5 billion impressions. Not million, billion. That's the type of promotion that money can't buy. And that type of promotion came for free, luckily for Triller. Now, would you believe if I tell you, when the results of the pay-per-view numbers came out, old media had the audacity to give most of the credit to the pay-per-view success to Jake Paul? The disrespect, as if Mike Tyson is not one of the biggest sports icons, if not the biggest at the moment in time. And they want to give the credit to the pay-per-view selling 1.6 million to Jake Paul. The audacity by old media. That's why I'm glad Jake Paul has an upcoming fight, to see the tremendous success of Jake Paul pay-per-view sales against this UFC fighter. And if he doesn't sell close to 1 million, then it's completely a flop. Since old media gave all of the credit of the pay-per-view success of Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones to Jake Paul instead of Mike Tyson, which is the ultimate disrespect if you ask me. Nevertheless, Mike Tyson versus Holyfield rematch did not end on a good note. It ended on an ear note. Therefore, it's only right to close off the chapter proper with an exhibition. Second of all, when it comes to Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos being on the undercard, I think that's a great idea. That will definitely benefit Teofimo Lopez tremendously, because now people are actually going to see him fight Kambosos. And if he stopped the capping, it's definitely going to build his profile. Third of all, when it came to Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, some people expected a little more out of them. More so out of Mike. Some people expected the KO, so on and so forth. So having a real fight instead of YouTube boxers on the undercard, that will give us the fans our money worth. Which it seems like Triller is one step ahead, because they paid a lot of money for Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos. But the great part is that they have a plan. And last but not least, I can't wait. I will pay top dollars to find out how Mike Tyson feels about Teofimo Lopez breaking his promise about fighting Devin Haney next and choosing to fight and sticking to his original plan of fighting Kambosos when Mike Tyson told him, you should fight Devin next. You guys should fight next. The moment Teo brought up Kambosos. And Teo responded by stating, we should. So I can't wait to see that interaction between the two. Hopefully Mike still remembers and there isn't damage control being done, confusing Mike to what's going on. And before I end this video, some decafs came at me on my last video claiming, yes, Teofimo Lopez, he did not get paid $10 million to fight Kambosos like he told the fans. However, Triller is paying him $6 million, which is close enough. First of all, $10 million and $6 million are two different numbers. Second of all, the $6 million is the total purse bid. Teofimo is only getting 65% of the purse bid, like I stated before. 35% goes to Kambosos. Now, out of that 65%, which is a total of $3.9 million, 20% of that amount goes to Bob Arum, which will leave Teofimo Lopez with $3,129,000. Now, out of this amount, you still have to subtract Teofimo manager, which is another 20% goes to Dave, which that will leave Teofimo Lopez with $2.5 million. That's how much he's really getting paid. As you guys see above, I did the math for the decafs that don't do the numbers. They are not aware of the numbers and they still want to argue with you. So I broke it down. You even have the sectioning fees for his 3 belts, including the witness protection franchise. He obviously has to pay for that as well if you want to continue to avoid Devin Haney by continuing the NBF takeover. Therefore, do the math. His father, the trainer, get 10%. The training camp is going to cost him something. So I broke it down for you decafs that want to argue about something that you guys don't know. You guys see it on the screen. So go ahead and learn something today while holding this L. And when I say this L, I mean this lesson. Because when it comes to Akhi, I always put the facts together like puzzle. That's what I do for a living. With that being stated, drop your thoughts in the comment section below when it comes to all of the above. Subscribe below and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Peace, and we out here.
We're gonna make it happen. Let me see what they do in Australia first. You know, if we don't like what they do,
This should be the next
we gonna
fight,
make this
man.
fight
This
happen.
should be the next fight.
It should be the next fight, right?